Hey there, everybody. It's Morgan coming to you live from the Highland Cycles Nobby Lobby for the Gospel of Two Wheels. We're going to call this episode 5. I don't know if it is or not, but we're going to start now, 5. So we're going to be talking today about oil. Probably mostly about two-stroke oil and gear oil, but also, we'll talk about four-stroke oil too. The differences between synthetic oil and non-synthetic oil, why you should or shouldn't use those, the difference between motorcycle oil and non-motorcycle oil, and mixture ratios, things like that for two-strokes. So I'm going to give everybody a little time to hop on here on the line as my mother. If you don't agree with me, then I'm super duper sorry about that, but I don't really care. These are my opinions. This is how I feel. I've taken a ton of motors apart. I've put a ton of motors together. I've locked up plenty of motors myself. So let's start with AMSOIL. So AMSOIL. I'm back. Sorry. I fixed it. Should be getting better. There we go. Froze. I know it froze, everybody. We should be getting better. I didn't have the Wi-Fi turned on my phone. Way to go. So let's go back. Let's go back to what I was saying. Chad, is it getting better? Chad, is it getting better? Everybody, please let me know if it's getting better. I had the Wi-Fi turned off on my phone because I'm an idiot. So sorry about that. Hopefully it's all getting better. Alec Moorfield, there you are. So let's go back. We're talking about two-stroke oil right now. I'm going to go back and say all this again. Anyway, I want to start with the thing that I hate the most in the world of two-strokes and oil is that people are using this AMSOIL Sabre in their dirt bike. Okay? I'm sure that you guys, there's a whole bunch of people out there that love this stuff. That's fine. Super sorry, but my opinion is that this is not for your dirt bike. It says right on the back of it that it's for power equipment. It says for use in all two-stroke handheld equipment. Handheld, I mean, I guess you could say your dirt bike is kind of handheld, but it's not. Anyway, Husqvarna, going back, chainsaws, not your dirt bike. Steel, Echo, Toro, Shindawa, anyway. This is not for your dirt bike. It's RC cars. There you go. Yeah, maybe it's for RC cars. It doesn't even say that on it. AMSOIL, the company who makes this, says it's for your power equipment and not for your dirt bike. They make dirt bike oil that I'm sure is very good. I've never used their dirt bike oil, but I'm sure it's very good. Justin Hansen, what's happening? This is ridiculous to put in your bike. I'm just going to say that. That's my official opinion. You can disagree with me. I don't care. I remember I had a customer one time who told me they'd been running this 100-to-1 in their bike and had no problems. And I said, oh, really? No problems at all? They're like, no, it runs great, really clean. Exhaust is clean, no spooge, no nothing. I'm like, yeah, well, how many times have you had to rebuild it or put a piston in it? Have you taken it apart yet? Well, we've had to put 2 cranks in it. I'm like, two cranks. It was a KTM, which generally, and this is not a KTM show, but generally KTM motors, two-stroke motors are pretty stinking durable. I said, 2 cranks, so how many hours? Oh, about, 300. What? 300 hours? My last 300, my 2012 KTM 300 XC, I got almost well, no, actually over 500 hours out of it before I had to put a crank in it. So 2 cranks in 300 hours is absolutely ridiculous. And this is not a person who's racing it in Supercross holding it wide open. This is just a very good but normal trail rider. So Aaron Hood, what's up? So please, you know what the best thing about this? So the very best thing to do if you have a bottle of Sabre is take your bottle of Sabre, take the top off, pour it out, all of it out, then clean it with some brake cleaner, some solvent or something like that, and then pour a better 2-stroke oil inside of it and carry it in your backpack so that if you have to go to a gas station, you have some oil to fill up. So that is the only thing, and it's only $3. It's actually a pretty, hey Nate Scott, it's actually a pretty decent price for a good little container. It holds oil really well. So AMS Oil 101, dumb. It's my opinion. I don't care what you think. You can yell at me. We can argue. We can argue back and forth. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Here's the other reason I think 100 to 1 of any kind, I don't care what oil you put in it, is dumb, is that you have, so in a 2-stroke, since you don't have oil splashing around and getting sprayed all over everywhere, the rings have to seal on the cylinder somehow, right? Because that's how you make compression. We could go on and on and on about how that works. But anyway, rings seal to the cylinder with oil. They don't actually, metal doesn't touch metal. If it does, it's bad, you know, things come apart. So when you lower the amount of oil too much, you get less seal, therefore less compression, less bang, less go forward. So the myth that you're getting more horsepower out of running less oil in your gas is just that. It's an absolute myth. Yamaha did a study forever ago. I know that oils have changed. Yes, I'm ragging on AMSOIL Sabre. I don't like it for motorcycles. I'm sure it works great in the power equipment that it was intended for, Doug. And that's what AMSOIL says. But anyway, Yamaha did a study a long time ago about, there it is, Josh Hartler, 21 makes the most horsepower on a 2-stroke. Thank you. Now, I think that 20 to 1 is probably a little heavy and is going to cause some carboning if you're not on the gas really hard all the time. So I get not running 20 to 1, but thank you for jumping in on that, Josh. I think Yamaha is the company that did that study, and they don't have anything to, they sell 2-stroke oil. They also sell motor parts. And so you'd think that they'd, if they wanted to just sell more stuff and make more money, they'd tell you to run really lean. I personally really like the MotorX Crosspower 2T. I put that in my YZ. I also put it in the KTM. I put it in my son's KX65 and my other son's CR85. So I like the, so Lucas, Corbin, Lucas, I'm sure Lucas is good. If you buy the Lucas oil that is for 2-stroke motorcycles and not for some power equipment or handheld thing or chainsaw. I like I said, I like the MotorX Crosspower. It seems to me to be less smoky and less spoogey than others. I have run on my own personal motorcycles everything from Yamalube, both the non-synthetic and synthetic, Motul 800, Bellray H1R, Redline. I've never had a problem with any of those. I've had really solid motor performance and longevity. Hey, Garrett Anderson, what's happening? Adam Clement, sorry. Hey, Justin Hansen, Bellray is very good. The H1R is great oil. Corbin, you can keep your Lucas oil at the shop with your sponsorship, quote unquote. Charlie Johnson, what's happening? Bellray makes great oil for 2-strokes. Like I said, I just can't understand running oil that was made specifically for power equipment in my dirt bike. John Hill, what's happening? Also the 100 to 1 thing makes 0 sense. And I've had people, this is one of my favorites. This is a rant I like to go on. I've had people tell me that the reason they run 100 to 1 in their $10, $12, $15,000 KTM is to save money. I'm like, okay, so hold on, back up. So you've got this brand new dirt bike that costs more than what most people pay on a car. Yeah, I know I shaved. And the so you got this brand new dirt bike, costs lots and lots and lots of money, and you hang all these sparkles, all this bling. And hey, by the way, I'm guilty, super guilty. I love bling. I love anodized things. I'm like a bass. I see shiny things and I bite at it. But so you spend all this money, and you're gonna go ride your dirt bike, which is arguably a very expensive situation just to go take the thing out. I mean, your helmet, a few $100s. Hey, what's happening, Emma? How's it going? Daniel, it's good to see you. Emma, I hope you're having a great morning. Shouldn't you be in school? I don't know. Anyway, so you spend all this money, you do all this thing, and then you're seriously telling me that you're going to put 100-to-1 chainsaw oil in your dirt bike to save money. That is absolutely freaking ridiculous, okay? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'm sorry, but if you're trying to save money by doing 100-to-1 cheap power equipment oil, well then fine, that's fine. I would rather hear you tell me that you think your bike runs better because of it, because the money saving thing is just stupid. Because I think in the long run you're not going to save money, you're going to buy motor parts and all that stuff. So best thing to do with Sabre, pour it out, use the bottle to carry your good oil to go ride. So, Javier, ¿qué pasó? My favorite, yes, thank you, Josh. My favorite two-stroke mix is 60-to-1. That's what KTM recommends for all their bikes, even down to their 50s. So, and I know that they recommend that, and probably they're being a little conservative, right? Because they don't want things to blow up. They don't want people using their mixture and having bikes blow up. So you could probably go a little bit less, but my thought is that I would rather, Rotella, I would rather have a little more oil in there and lubricate the bearings and the cylinder wall and all that stuff and the power valve than have less. It just doesn't make any sense to like hedge towards not enough lubrication. In all of life, lubrication is your friend. So so I like 60-to-1, 40-to-1 is about as rich as I'll go, because after that you start to build up some a little more carbon, things like that, if you're not on the gas, which I'm rarely on the gas. I don't get on the gas nearly enough to keep it super clean. So I like 60-to-1. I run 60-to-1 in my kids 65, 85, and I hope that Javier and Corbin have a wonderful conversation on here, because it's going to be funny. All you people watching should watch that conversation if you can. So anyway, 61, 41, my favorite. And I like Motor X2T. I feel like it's cleaner burning and has less issues. At the end of this, I'll actually walk around to the back of our rental KTM and so Chad uses the chainsaw oil. Well, whatever, Chad. I hope it stays good. Yeah, Shane, I know I shaved. It was driving me nuts. And my kids were complaining as I kissed them to go to school the other day. So, let's go to gear oil, since we're talking about two strokes. We'll go to four strokes next. Oh, I said, I'll walk you around to the back of the rental bike. Hey, Johnny Lee, how's it going? And show you what the back of that thing looks like running 60-to-1 Motor X 2T and me being a slow guy, even with a screen type spark arrestor, it is clean. I haven't clogged the screen up yet. It hasn't gotten bad or anything like that, so I'm actually really happy with the way that burns. I think that if you have everything, hey Jason Ream, what's up? If you have everything jetted correctly and your motor's in good shape, as in it doesn't need rings, doesn't need things like that. Eddie, what's happening? Then 60-to-1 is all you need. The 100-to-1 is just stupid. That's the last thing I'm going to say. 100-to-1, stupid. Amsoil Sabre, stupid. My opinions, believe what you want. But a guy who's taken a lot of motors apart. Brian Holloway, what's happening? So, gear oil. I like, personally, I'm a Bel-Ray Gear Saver 80 weight synthetic fan. So let's back up a little bit. In your two-stroke, as long as you put oil in it, you'll be fine, probably, because Javier and Corbin are going to be awesome for this whole show. If you have oil in your transmission, you're going to be okay. That's the beauty of the two-stroke, is that you're not lubing valves, you're not lubing a cam chain, you're not lubing all those bearings. It's literally a piston, a top-end bearing, crank, bottom-end bearing, and then 2 main bearings. That's in the power valve stuff. That's it. That's all you're having to lube. So that's all done with the two-stroke. The rest of it is your transmission. So I like to use transmission oil in a transmission. Now, KTM recommends, Todd Colvin, what's happening? KTM recommends their 15, 50, 10, I don't know, whatever, some sort of tranny oil. I've used it. It worked fine. It felt a little notchier shifting. I don't know. I don't know. It was fine. I've used their Cross Power 4T. I've used Yamalube 1040. I've used anything I can put in there, but I absolutely love Gear Saver. Absolutely muffler bearings. You do grease those with your two-stroke oil, especially if you run really heavy oil and don't get on the gas enough. I really like Gear Saver. I've put it in everything I've had, from YZs to KX, 65s, KTM 50s even though they recommend the ATF. I've put the Gear Saver in when I didn't have any, and it was fine. Here's a quick story about why I love Gear Saver oil. I've told this story a million times here in the shop. If you've heard it, sorry. If you haven't, I hope you enjoy it. Back in 2012, or excuse me, actually 2011, end of 2011, I had a brand new KTM 2012 300XC. Sorry, coffee break. Two strokes matter. It was gorgeous. I had it about 2 months, and our annual trip to Oklahoma came up to go down to 80, 90 is gear oil too. Yes, Grant, you're right. 80 weight, 90. Yeah, I just use the 80 weight synthetic. That's just my, I don't know. That's my favorite. I don't like you don't want to put hypoid gear oil in your clutch. So if you see hypoid on it, don't put that in your motorcycle transmission. It'll probably be okay for a little while, but you don't want that in there for very long. Anyway, annual trip down to Oklahoma, big race. Load the bike up. We're all super excited. Get there. The first race that year was a 80-mile Grand Prix in a little mix of road and yes, Shane, absolutely. I'm glad that this is how this is going. This is so fun. Anyway, so it's an 80-mile race, like 2.5 hours. A mile of every lap was on the pavement, and then the other 7 to 8 miles is in the woods. I take off, hauling the mail for me, which is pretty slow, but anyway, I go along. I hit something that whipped up and hit the bottom of the clutch cover, the very bottom, like underneath the pedal and everything, underneath the brake pedal, and poked. So, hang on, Chad. I will get to that. Remind me if I don't talk about that. So he's asking about whether or not you should use the same oil if you're ever recluse. So I poked a hole, didn't know it, and I keep racing. First lap, very first lap. In the second lap, I started hearing some sounds out of the bike, kind of a not good sounds from your motor of your brand new motorcycle. That's weird. I thought, wow, maybe it's something, the radiator guard is loose or the pipe hit something, because I had crashed it already back home, but I hadn't crashed anything in the race, and so I was like, okay, so I keep going, and then about lap 3, it started going every time I'd let the clutch out. And I was like, that's officially not good. But I'm in a race, and I was doing really well. I think I was in the second or third for my class. And so I'm like, whatever. So I keep racing. And I thought, well, I hadn't hit anything. It must be something weird. So it's also the first KTM I had ever owned. So going. I get done with the race. It sounds like absolute crap, like nuts and bolts in a washer down there. And I'm like, this is bad. I look underneath the bike. I see the hole finally. It wasn't on my boot because, like I said, it's below it. See the hole. I get super sad. My wife, my parents, everybody moves away quickly because I was about to start throwing things. I figured I just ruined my new motorcycle. Fast forward, the next day, there's another race. I've got a backup bike at that time. I had a 125 two-stroke little YZ. I pull that thing out, going to race that, and I turn the gas on, and the gas pours out of the carburetor, just like as if there were no carburetor there, just a hose. I'm like, and I just jetted it, thought it was fine. Anyway, take it apart. Turns out it's a little O-ring on the seat. Long story, can't find an O-ring, no dice. Thing's not going to run, can't run it. My wife asked me, my beautiful, wonderful wife, Ruth, asked me, well, can you break it any worse if we just JB weld the hole in the cover and pour oil in it? I'm like, probably not. So, I mean, maybe, but I'm kind of mad anyway, so I don't really care. So we JB, like quick steel actually, the cover, pour oil in it, and actually we only had like 600 cc's, which is about 250 cc's less than what it takes. Pour it in there, and I go racing. Race the entire race, zero problems. Bike works perfectly. Everything's fine. Get back home. Before I even take it apart, I order a clutch because I figured at the very least, because it shifted, everything was fine during the race. I thought, well, maybe I got lucky. Very least I need a clutch. So I order a clutch before I even take it apart. Everything shows up. I take the big cover off. I look in there. Immaculate. The thing was perfect. All the bearings were shiny and silver, not blue. The clutch actually looked just fine. Everything inside the thing was absolutely perfect. And at that very moment, I swore that I would not put anything but Bel-Ray Gear Saver into the transmission of my two-stroke. I seriously raced a solid, it's got to have been 65 to 70 miles with no oil. Zero oil. Like, when I took the drain plug out after I found the hole and everything, nothing came out. No drips, nothing, right? It was empty. Lots of little fuzz on the magnet, actually, from the clutch. Anyway, I rode that bike for 520 hours total before I sold it. I never replaced a part in that transmission, not one. I ended up putting a new, rebuilding the crank before I sold it so that everything would be tip-top, but I never once replaced a part in that transmission other than the clutch. Eventually I wore it out. So that's my testimony for Bel-Ray Gear Saver 80 weight synthetic gear oil. I am a strong believer. Back to Chad Hucko's question about the Recluse. Recluse claims they want you to put Rotella. Hang on, coffee. Sorry, I'm tired this morning. Recluse says they want you to put Rotella in for their clutches. Rotella's diesel oil, although, you could probably go on and on about whether or not you should put oil that was made for diesel motors in your transmission, but it's probably just fine. It is inexpensive. I think it's probably okay. If Recluse tests it and does it, I'm sure it's okay, but I really like the Gear Saver. It just is smooth. I've never had a Recluse slip. I've had 3 Recluses, and I've used Bel-Ray Gear Saver in all of those transmissions with 0 problems. As far as needing to put Rotella or anything else in your transmission, I don't think you need to. I like Bel-Ray better. It's about $13 a liter, which is definitely more than Rotella, but it's a lot less than the Motor X, and it holds up really good. I actually just changed our rental bikes oil using our lovely maintenance book. If you guys want one, swing by the shop, give me a call, I'll mail you one. If I got to mail you one, I got to charge you a little bit. If you come by the shop, they're free. They're pretty sweet. But I changed, the first oil change was at 13 hours. The last one I just did yesterday was a total of 27 hours, so 14 more hours. Oil came out looking great. Clutch is working perfectly. Transmission shifting perfectly. So Bel-Ray Gear Saver, favorite. Let's see. Corbin. Anyway, any questions about two-stroke motor oil or two-stroke transmission oil? Anybody out there? I'm gonna drink more coffee. I don't know what all you guys are doing. This is great. We actually have a whole bunch of people watching. I'm looking at the little thing, it says 25 right now. That's really high for us. I'm hoping to get that up. By the way, if you guys enjoy this show, we're going to call it now. It's going to be called The Gospel of Two Wheels from here on out. So tell your friends, tune us in on Facebook. We might end up doing some YouTube broadcasting. Oh, there's angry faces maybe. Oh, that's probably Corbin. But anyway, yeah. So no questions about that. All right, moving on to four strokes. So let's start with why you should not put car oil or automotive oil in your four-stroke motorcycle. Car oil. What do you think of clot, two smoke? Okay, so good, John. Thanks. Hey, Rex. I have not ever used clots. I'm sure it's probably good. So sorry, I'm looking at the things. I'm on my phone still. We have a terrible internet connection, so I can't use my cool guy camera. I'm sure clots is good. I've not used it, but again, it was made for motorcycles, so it's probably good. How is Moab, Rex? Let me know. Javier said we should go ride, and yeah, it's so good out there. It rained, by the way. It's gonna be good. Just sold me on Bel-Ray. Yeah, Johnny, I'd do it, dude. It's good. It's only 4 transmissions though, so if it's for your 4-stroke, don't use the 80 weight. So let's go to 4 strokes. Car oil, Pennzoil, Mobil One, all these stuff. Now a lot of them make motorcycle oil, but what I'm talking about is the stuff you buy at Napa that's made for cars. It is made to go only in an engine, right? So crankshaft, pistons, cams, things like that. It is only for that. So it's super, super slippery, right? So that everything moves well and lubricates and does great. Yeah, come over and say hi to us, Rex. So it is great oil. Hold on, I can get that thing off. But it is, in my opinion, and in everybody else's, Dallas Hughes, what's happening? In all the engineers' opinion, it is too slippery to go in your clutch. Now, unless you have a Honda 4-stroke or with those mid-year KTMs like 09 to 11 or 12 that have separate gear oil and motor oil, you don't, like, your motor oil goes into your transmission and clutch. And if you use super slippery synthetic motor oil, then your clutch will slip and you'll cause problems and things like that. Obviously, you don't want clutches slipping. So that is why you don't use that. So you stick with motorcycle oil. That's a really good idea. Again, the one thing I have to say is if you don't have any oil, but then some oil. If you drain it out or something like that, or you poke a hole and you got to put something in it, put something in it. That's the important part. But good motorcycle oil has just enough friction. There you go. Javier's got good stuff. Read this, everybody. And Rotella, like I said, it's fine. I'm not saying it's horrible. It's just I like Bel-Ray. So, I lost train of thought. Anyway, motorcycle oil is what you want because, like I said, it's going to go in your clutch, it's going to go in your transmission, all that stuff. So, the difference between 2-stroke and 4-stroke, synthetic and non-synthetic. Let's start by saying oil is oil to a certain point, right? If it's clean and new, it's better than if it's old and dirty, regardless if it's synthetic and non-synthetic. In my opinion, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a scientist, we go on and on and on about the lack of qualification, except for that I've taken apart a lot of engines. I've ridden a lot of motorcycles in a lot of conditions. Synthetic oil, to me, the only real benefit is that it holds up really well under heat. So if you're doing like on a 4-stroke and you're going and riding a whole bunch of technical stuff, like hammering, the synthetic oil is going to hold up way better to that heat and abuse and not break down, and it's going to be good. The other thing is that what up, pussy feet, Jason Lesher. The other thing that you get with synthetic oil is that you get longer intervals, change intervals. Now, I still don't think, especially we're talking about dirt bikes, right? Because we're a dirt bike shop, and that's mainly what we do is talk about dirt bikes. So I'm talking about dirt bikes. Street bikes is different. We can have another show about street bikes and their oil, but you should never ever yes, feet. You should never ever go super long intervals, change intervals on your dirt bike. I don't care if you got the $40 million a quart oil. Change it a bunch, okay? Change it a lot. It's cheap insurance. It'll be better. Okay, Javier's talking about. Javier knows way more about mechanical stuff than I do, by the way. That's why he works for me, with me, really, not for me, and is awesome. So I'm just a goon who, likes to be on TV. So, but anyway, the only time you really, in my opinion, need synthetic oil is if you're going to go long, like if you're going to do a big long dual sport trip and you're not going to be changing oil a bunch, and maybe you're going to do 1,000 miles, 1,500, 2,000 miles before you change oil, then I would absolutely use synthetic. If you're going to be doing hard enduro stuff on a 4-stroke, I'd use synthetic. If you're a really hard racer, motocross, supercross, yeah, probably synthetic is a good idea. If you're just a recreational trail rider like me, who just goes and has fun and just wants to save some money, but keep their bike in really good shape, I would recommend. We here at Highland Cycles recommend Bel-Ray 1040 EXL for mineral oil. It's $9 a liter, full boat. We sell it for a little less than that, so use synthetic. Yeah, John, if all those things apply to you, then yeah, synthetic for sure. But if you I think on your 4-stroke, you got to change your oil probably every 10 hours. There you go. Listen to Javier. Mineral oil is best for 4-stroke bike because when he's saying it helps, first of all, when your bike's brand new, it helps everything seal up and break in right. And then also, like I said, you can afford to change it a lot. And clean oil is better than dirty oil no matter what. If you take anything away from this show, clean oil is better than dirty oil. Change it. Change your damn oil, people. Change it. Change it as much as possible. I would rather sell you oil than engine parts all day long. And so would Javier. We'd rather sell you oil, sell you suspension work, sell you cool guy parts, pipes, things like that, tires, so you go ride your stinking bike, than motor parts. So change your damn oil. And if that means using some less expensive, good motorcycle oil, then do it. Like I said, we sell Bel-Ray, we sell it in liters, we sell it in gallons, and then we also sell it in bulk for way cheaper. If you bring a gallon jug in, we'll fill it up for $20. Instead of, I think it's 32 for a gallon of the pre-packet, whatever. Here's a quick story about changing. Yeah, oil is way cheaper. Here's a quick story about changing your oil and why you should. We have a 04 CRF 250X here in the shop right now. Really clean bike, looks great on the outside. Gentleman brought it in because he wanted to put a piston in it. It was time, he thought, didn't have an hour meter, anything like that, so who knows, but he thought it was time. Maybe a little down on power. We took it apart, and it turns out that the oil was migrating from the motor into the transmission, got really low, and smoked the cam, the head, and all the things in the engine. The piston, the cylinder is still pretty good, but we're going to replace that anyway. And I guarantee you, if he had been on a really tight, regular schedule of changing oil, he would have noticed that it was getting Bel-Ray 22. Oh, okay, Eddie. Amsoil Sabre is junk for your motorcycle. Don't use it. Amsoil Dominator for your motorcycle is just fine. Bel-Ray H1R is awesome. I've used it. I like it. Really good. Stay away from Sabre unless you want to buy the bottle. Like I said, the best thing about Amsoil. So, okay, I know I'm terrible at this job, but I have fun. Anyway, the two takeaways from today. One is change your damn oil, whether it be transmission, four-stroke motor, whatever. The other one is buy Amsoil Sabre, take the top off, pour it out into not on the ground. There you go. I like Motul 800. I do like the H1R though too, Javier. Pour it out into an appropriate container, clean it out, put the right oil in it, put it in your backpack so you have stuff if you need to go to the gas station and don't. Anyway, so those are the two big takeaways. So anyway, back to the story about this 250X. I think this gentleman had been on a regular schedule of changing his oil every, between 5 and 10 hours on his four-stroke, at least the motor oil. He would have noticed that it was getting low because generally those bikes, when the oil starts to migrate from the motor to the transmission, it happens slowly at first, and you notice it, and then you fix that before it kills motor parts. But he didn't. He's not super high on maintenance. He just kind of rides the bike and takes care of it a little bit. It's super clean on the outside. And anyway, it's going to be $2,800 to $3,000 to fix that motor versus the $1,200 to $1,500 to do solid top end with valves and cam chain and all that stuff. So change your freaking oil. The more you change it, the better it is. It costs money, it takes time, it's messy, all that stuff. Sorry. I don't know about the shop where you're from, but Highland Cycles will take your old oil and put it in our thing, so that's not an issue. If you live in Montrose or near here and you want to bring us your waste oil, bring it down. It's free. We'll dispose of it, get rid of it in the right way. So don't hesitate to change your oil. Let's see. Are there any other questions? Let me see. Let me go back through here. So yeah, anyway, hit me with questions. I'm gonna drink some coffee here. And while I'm waiting for any questions, I'm gonna talk about the tires that we just took off of the race bike. Not a race bike, although I probably will race it, but off of the rental bike. Sorry, I'm back. So, 27 hours, more or less, probably 26. Anyway, 26 hours, 27 hours, something like that. This is what a Shinko 505 cheater looks like. Coming off the back of a KTM 250 XCW, ridden by mostly me, a couple of rentals, and a few other people who've demoed it. You can see the knobs are getting pretty worn, getting pretty torn up, but I can say that the thing actually did stick pretty good all the way to the end. It held up good. Yeah, I like it. It's got 400, almost 500 miles in those hours. Held up good. The biggest downsides to that tire, when it gets really sloppy muddy, that thing slips like crazy. It just spins and spins and spins and spins. So if you're in the mud, like back east or up on our plateau when it gets really, really wet, which hasn't happened much this year, that is not a good tire. It really spins up fast and it loses traction pretty quickly. If you're in the roots and the rocks and it's wet, it's a phenomenal tire. So I like that a lot. So yeah, great tire, really good tire at Hartman's in the desert, things like 525. Yeah, the 525 Eddie is way better in the mud, and I haven't run one yet. We're gonna do that soon. But I hear it tears apart really, really, really fast. I'll find that out. So here's the front that we took off. Boom. the Shinko 216. Let's see. You can see we got knobs coming apart. Again, same thing, same amount of hours, 27 hours on this. My official opinion on the 216 is that it is just too fat. I don't like it. Yes. The 216 fatty is, for me personally, is too wide. It works great again in the roots and rocks when they're really wet, but it's vague feeling when you go charging into a turn on single track and you need the bike to actually make the turn, and if you're like me and you've waited way too long to hit the brakes and now you're completely out of control, that big fat front tire is all over the place. I don't love it. It's really not good in the desert when it's dry. Seems like it pushes all over the place. So I'm going back to a narrower tire. I'm still a giant fan of the Bridgestone M59 on the front of just about anything. We are way past time. Thank you all so much for watching. I love doing this. I hope you guys like it. Comment below, please, if you do enjoy this show. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a winky face. Give whatever, rock and roll signs. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to walk over to the Cool Guy Rental Bike. Dave Fond, what's happening? I told you all that I would show you the exhaust on our rental after running. First of all, it's got the Mikuni carburetor with the JD needle in it, and then our jetting specs, which are a little bit leaner than everybody else's, than JD's jetting specs. But running great, running 60-to-1 Motorex Cross Power 2T, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to flip this thing. So, where are we? There we go. Hang on. You can see the screen is just now starting to get clogged. Just now. After 27 hours of me putting around not very fast on it with 60-to-1. So do not tell me that you need 100-to-1 AMSOIL to have your bike run clean. I got no spooge coming out the back. I got no drool going down it. Yeah, it runs great. Now my YZ does have drool going down it. I think that's because the top end is worn out and I need to put a new piston in it. So, yeah, you guys keep talking about the tires too, please. 525. I'm gonna try one soon. But the new tires on the rental bike are dun, dun, dun. It is the Pirelli Scorpion XC Mid-Soft. I freaking love this rear tire on a two-stroke. I've never run one on a four-stroke. I've heard that they come apart if you're hard on the gas on a 450, but I love them on a two-stroke. I've run them on my YZ, like quite 3 or 4 of them, and I really, really like them. They work great in a lot of places. I've sold quite a few to customers that have been really, really happy. And then, dun, 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 the front. Let's see if I can get a good shot. Sorry, everybody. Is the Pirelli MX Extra. So the Pirelli MX Extra front, I've actually not ever run this front tire. So I've run the backs. I really like the back tire for most conditions. It's not the best woods tire, the MX Extra on the back, but it's not bad either. So anyway, super stoked. Got that thing on there. Still running Nitro Mooses. Everything's going great, guys. I hope you guys are going to go ride your dirt bikes tonight because it did rain, at least down here in this valley, which means the traction goes up, dust goes down, and it's time to ride your dirt bike.